We're sitting on the outside in Australia. Everything's normal here. People still walking on the beach, like doing their everyday things. And then all of a sudden you turn on the TV and you see, the Burj getting hit. You see one of the hotels on the Palm getting hit. And then you see all these intercepted missiles.
They're not evacuating Dubai. They're sitting there drinking pink champagne, having a fat old time at lunch, and mucking around saying, I think I got hit by a bit of shrapnel. Like, they don't care. Is it complacent or people are just not that worried?
I have to make sure everyone's safe. It's like the property market is going to dip a little bit, which is great for me because, like I said on our last call, it's like that's going to be my first bite in the apple. So I'm personally seeing it as an opportunity.
We're moving into a world where there's going to be so much uncertainty. Wars, AI, robots, these are things that cause trust to break down. If you can build that trust in a trustless world, that is going to be one of the most valuable assets you can have. Eventually, you're going to be able to leverage that opportunity because you've built trust in a world where trust is breaking down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Friday pod. Today's an interesting one. We take a global view. Right now, some of you may know I'm in Dubai, so I tell you what it's like on the ground, what it feels like. We dive into what the zigs for the zag look like in this kind of ever-changing market where the sands are figuratively and literally moving beneath our feet. We also talk about how to build wealth in a space where everyone's driving towards AI. What are some AI resistant businesses? And we get some deep insights from the likes of Eric, who's gone through cycles like this before and how he reacted previously and how he's deciding to react now. Mark also gives a great cross section of what other people have done in the past and his advice to people when the sands are shifting the way that they are. So it's an exciting episode. And towards the very end, we share insights and book recommendations and how we're approaching the zag when everybody else is zigging. So it's a cracker of an episode. Make sure you watch it all the way to the end. And if you like it, please make sure you like and subscribe.
It's been pretty hectic with all the news that's been coming out of obviously the US and the UAE specifically. Raf, you live in Dubai, right? And we were on a call yesterday, and I mean, everyone's energy is down. Like I'm looking at X multiple times a day, news.com. What are the updates happening? And I've been thinking about you a lot for multiple reasons. Obviously, one, for your safety, and two, you had major plans, right? You're supposed to be in the US right now, and obviously that's throwing a bit of a spanner in the works. So today's pod, I really want to unpack our thoughts on what's happening. Number one. Number two, um, how we are reacting ourselves personally to this issue in regards to our own wealth creation and decisions that we're making in business and property and investment. And I want to talk a little bit about your situation, Rap, because we're sitting on the outside in Australia. Everything's normal here, right? There's no bombs going off. Um, and people still walking on the beach, like doing their everyday thing. And I think it's a little bit different over there. So I think let's start with you, Raf, because I've been thinking about you a lot, and so I know James and Mark have been as well, because your situation is a little bit different, right? Like you're in Dubai, the place where we all thought, no one will ever touch Dubai because it's Dubai and it's one of the money capitals of the world. And then all of a sudden you turn on the TV and you see the Burj getting hit. You see one of the hotels on the Palm getting hit, and then you see all these intercepted missiles, hundreds and
And
hundreds of missiles getting intercepted.
and to be clear, that they're not getting hit with missiles. The interceptors are intercepting missiles, and then debris is raining down and
Yeah.
causing.
Like if they were hit by missiles, there'd be a lot more damage than
Load a few
what
fires.
it looked like on the news. So Raf, yeah, explain to me, like, where's your headspace at? How are you feeling? What's going on over there on the ground in Dubai at the moment?
Mm. The crazy thing is it's like so normal. Like everything is normal. Like if people are just like literally the first day when everything started, we were in the movies and we walked out and it seemed completely normal. And then we just opened up our YouTube and we're like, oh, dang, this has happened. And oh, like 7 hours ago, the Burj Khalifa was just evacuated for precautionary safety stuff. I'm like, that's strange. And so everything seemed normal. Even yesterday, because every morning you wake up and you just hear like since it started, just like a few bangs, but that's like a good sound because they're being intercepted, right? So it's like, okay, cool, that's things are working. And then you see a guy just like, walking with like a Meta Ray-Bans bag, and he's just like just come from a shopping trip. He's just super relaxed. And then you see this other woman just jogging. It just seems normal. And that's the part that feels weird to me because this is not normal to me. And it should be normal to people here because like UAE is like, and specifically Dubai is so safe. So this is not a normal experience, but everyone's behaving super normal. And that's where the dissonance is coming in. I'm just like, okay, everything feels super normal, but we're in like an abnormal environment. And so my thinking is literally, honestly, boys, like I was supposed to be on a flight to the States like right now because I'm supposed to be speaking at the Prosper stage and I had a meeting in LA that I need to go to. But like every plane is grounded. So I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, everything must be normal. So let's chill. Let me see if there's any other flights from other like neighboring countries. Every single every single flight is like 10x the price, 15x the price. So most people are feeling normal here, but a lot of people are flying out as well. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place deciding what to do next. I personally feel very safe, but that's why I feel weird about it because it's in a weird situation. So it's just
Well,
yeah.
just to back that, you've got Penny Wong. I'm just reading an article now. Who's saying there's 115,000 Australians across the stranded in the Middle East airspace closed with the airspace closed. She said it's not the issue about flying. It's the issue that people aren't flying. They're not evacuating Dubai. They're sitting put.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a guy I know in Dubai at the moment, and he's out with a bunch of mates sitting at that. I can't remember the restaurant that looks straight at them, the one on the palm there with the helicopter and the roof
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
and whatnot, and they're sitting there drinking pink champagne, having a fat old time at lunch, and mucking around saying, "I think I got hit by a bit of shrapnel." Like, they don't care. I'm like, so you're right. I mean, it's a fairly complacent, well, I is it complacent or people are just not that worried?
People are just not that worried, man. Because like Dubai is so safe, and I think that air of safety is just like extended towards this extreme circumstance. And like rightly or wrongly, that's just how it feels. I don't personally feel unsafe at all, but that's probably why I should take some action to just like figure out first how to get to the States for prosper, and then like two, like what to do in the short term while all this is happening. So that's
If
who it.
if it is in fact a short term.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
It's just crazy how things can change so quick, right? Like here we are talking about international business. We've obviously been talking about Dubai, different things, and obviously, Mark's been getting bombarded with messages about Dubai and investing in Dubai and what's happening in 1 week. All of a sudden, places are getting bombed. The UAE, Abu Dhabi, um, Qatar, Bahrain, all these places that have any kind of affiliation with the USA. Um, but I look at it and go, as fearful as it may seem, and obviously, the news does a great job of scaring the shit out of
Oh
everybody.
yeah.
Like I
But
remember,
you're looking at the news. I'm here on the ground. I'm looking at the news that we reported globally, and I'm getting scared how they're representing it. But on the ground, it does not feel like this at all. So
yeah,
I saw this like really starkly how much sensationalism is going on with how it's being represented. Not to say it's not a serious situation, but the way they're talking about it, you would feel like everything is on fire. Everything is normal. So that's the weird part.
It's funny because I'm not for a second saying that this is like not serious, but it 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 kind of seems like there's a bit of a fact finding mission going on between the two sides. Like it, it seems like the US's goal is to kind of, well, they're going after their bunkers, their ammunitions. Like the supreme leader is dead, but the missiles are still firing. It seems like the US's plan is to try and flush out the missiles and to try and go after those facilities and crush them. And then you could argue that from the other side, the Chinese and the Iranians are kind of gathering intelligence to see, well, how many interceptors does the other side have? Like there's talks about the US maybe not having enough interceptors to defend, or they can't spread their interceptors across Israel and Middle East and everywhere else. And then Dubai is basically the government's putting out a statement saying, "Don't you worry about us. We've got enough interceptors to last. We've been planning for this." But it feel it not that it feels this. not that it feels disingenuous because it's an act of war, but it almost feels like, in my opinion, it's a proxy war, the US versus China. And it almost feels like this is just a little bit of a chess. This is a chess move to kind of work out, well, you know, how many missiles do you have? Can we knock that out? Can you defend them? That's why they're spreading them far and wide across the UAE. And I don't know what the answer is, but it kind of feels strange. Like it it feels very strange. It it like when they went to war against Iraq or when they went to war against Afghanistan, it kind of felt a little bit different. And I don't know if maybe that's the troops on the ground element, or it's just that we're just too far away from it, or that just so much is happening in such a short time. Venezuela, Maduro got captured. You had Ukraine and Russia from 2022, or maybe we're becoming desensitized from these things that are actually happening. Um, but yeah, I'm just sitting there like trying to understand it from a macro point of view. I'm trying to work out like, okay, how many ammunitions do they have? What are the costs of the missiles versus the cost of the interceptors? I'm trying to understand it from a macro point of view and like see moves in advance. But it's so hard because we don't know what these governments are really playing at. Like there was talk from really reputable people over the last couple of weeks that there could be a deal between Iran and the US, and then there wasn't. And it's like, what the hell kind of chess moves are going on? All I know for sure is that it is an escalation of that rules-based order being over, and that things being different from what they've been like in the last 50 years for good now. Um, yeah, and I guess from an investment point of view, that's kind of what I'm trying to understand. But yeah, it's
We've certainly
really
worked out in the past that removing an ultimate leader sort of creates a power vacuum there, doesn't it? It doesn't really benefit the country that they remove leader said leader from. And
They say that all the time. I'm reading this book, The World for Sale, and it's about these commodity swashbuckling traders who go into war zones in Libya. And the first chapter is about this guy from the biggest, largest trading oil house in the world, goes into Libya secretly, gives supplies fuel to the rebels. They get rid of Gaddafi, who's been there for 4 decades, and then they ask him in 2019, "What about that?" And he's like, "I don't know if we made the right move." Because it does, James, it creates a power vacuum. Um,
I
And look, and the other comments I've been sort of seeing, like I don't stick to social much, but obviously I've been tuning into a little bit more now, is that the vibe from Americans in general don't want to go on another repeat of Iraq and Afghanistan and all this sort of stuff. So if it does become a boots on the ground model, I think it's going to be as well received as the weapons of mass destruction, which triggered that debacle for the last 20 years.
yeah, I s I would be so surprised if we started seeing boots on the ground. I think that would be like a terrible mistake.
Uh,
Because it look
Financially rewarding mistake for some, though.
yeah.
Yeah, I look at it in more from a, like an economic level, right? And like what economic damage Iran can do, and the amount of market volatility that they can actually create, um, just with the control of oil, right? That they have, especially through that Hormuz Strait that they're talking about, where I think it was roughly 20% of the world's oil goes through there. And you really start looking at that going, what that is the impact. Like, forget about the bombs for a sec. Yes, people are, that's going to happen, and there's going to be people that are going to get killed, and Trump has already said that there will be more, troops that will get killed, and more, people, and with that, a lot of innocent people get killed as well. I then look at it and go, okay, well, you can be like, you can have compassion towards that, and we all do, obviously. And then your day goes on, right? You don't not leave the house, or you don't sit there. Your day goes on. Business needs to go on. You got to go groceries. You got to put food on the table. You got to take your kids to school and all this stuff. But the economic impact it can actually have in a society, right? And that boils back down to fear, right? What if? What happens? Because straight away, it's like, oh my God, is this going to be World War III? Because that's what everyone, right? That's the rage bait. World War III, World War III. And then what happens is straight away the fear comes out, right? The croc brain sets in going, but I got this property development going on and I've got this happening. And then I've just invested in this. And what does that mean? What's going to happen? We just started a business doing stuff in Dubai. Oh my God, they've just got, they're intercepting all these missiles. What does that mean for Dubai? All these things start running through people's heads. And what it makes people do is second guess the decisions that they're making day to day, which means that they then sit on their hands, and that is what affects the market, the sentiment, the inaction of things that we would do and go, you know what? Yeah, let's go and set up that office, or let's go and invest in Bitcoin because we think it's gonna, you know, come back now, and because of the money printing and this and that, and like you just look at that, and that's what the second and third order consequences of these things, of these, call it a war, whatever you want to call it at the moment. That is the real war, in my opinion, is what happens economically to everyone's pockets and lifestyle.
A few things on that just quickly. One, in it, I think I think the more proxy wars that you see, the less chance of a world war. I feel like the proxy wars are a way to avoid China and USA going head to head against each other. Number two is, generally, if you look back, if you can only use history as a guide, and if you look back through history, yes, there's going to be certain assets or sectors that suffer during war, but war, generally speaking, is it's a very not, I don't want to say advantageous, but it's a very strong supporter of economies, right?
Mm.
So you look at stock markets, you look at all the stock markets, they might have an initial dip, but stock markets always rise off the back of wars because there's so much reindustrialization, so much construction and manufacturing that happens off the back of it. So generally, the Main Street economy does really well off the back of off the back of wars. The third one is, why hasn't the Hormuz Strait been disrupted? Like, that's one of the things that I look at and I think, well, if this was full on, all blown, all out, that
That would have been blocked
that
already.
choke point should have been blocked or whatever, but it's not, which makes it feel like it's a little bit more feeling out, chess move type things. And the fourth thing is, like, with things like Dubai, it's like some people are saying, "Oh, Dubai's property market's going to crash," or "Mark, you still interested in Dubai?" Well, today I can't make a decision on that, but over the next month, 2 months, 6 months, you're going to see there's either going to be a deep opportunity, right? Because property prices will sell off and there'll be even deeper opportunity, or um, things will go on as usual, right? We don't know. This is the whole point about this time, the fourth turning that we're in, is that there is so much uncertainty, and it just reinforces the fact that you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket, because at any moment, at any time, the rules of the board could change, because there's a power struggle, right? That rising power, China, is trying to supersede the existing power of America, and you're seeing all the things associated with that are unfolding.
Mm.
And but I would say that no one should go out and make panicked investment or financial decisions, um, because generally speaking, wars, not unless your country is getting bombed and
Mm.
everything is getting flattened. For the rest of the world, generally, it's an economic tailwind, not a headwind.
I,
Because
I
of the
I
interest
look
rate.
at COVID as an example, right? And you look at what happened there, and it's similar to what happens in war.
Response mechanism, yeah,
But the
100%.
response mechanism is the same. Now, there isn't bombs and missiles happening and people dying from that. Obviously, people die
Still
from
deaths.
well, not
Still deaths, right?
still deaths. But what happens is the panic sets in, right? Like, I regret selling property during COVID. Multiple people would have regretted that because, again, the world's ending, the news, right? The croc brain, the little guy on your, right shoulder is going, "Hey, man, like, the world's ending." The scare tactics start coming in because the sentiment just drops, right?
If I always run this test past it, right? Like, 2008 was going to break the world and the world was going to end, or if COVID was going to end the world, or if this is going to end the world. If the world's going to end, it doesn't really matter what fucking decision you make with that property or with that asset or with that thing. Because if the world's ending, you're fucked anyway, no matter which way you move. So don't
Yeah.
move and buy the panic eventually, because the history tells us that
Yeah.
those who buy the panic kind of get rich
Yeah.
wherever it is, like whether it's the stock market, Bitcoin, gold, whatever.
So how does it make, like, James, as an example, like, you're doing stuff, you're doing business. We got unemployable property. We have a massive event coming up this weekend. There's lots of stuff happening, right? The development stuff, and then all of a sudden you've got this, overnight Saturday night bang, on your phone. Wh- What was your mindset like straight away? Like when you start seeing this stuff and hearing this stuff, did you panic? Did you sit there and go, it is what it is? What was your headspace like?
Yeah, pretty much exactly that. It is what it is. I mean, there was a little a taste test before when the US went and bombed around last month, and look, it's going to escalate. Fairly probably, hopefully, confined to the Middle East, obviously. But immediately all I do is look at the Bitcoin price and see if it got hammered, and then without sounding completely flippant, it's business as usual.
Yep.
I can't see how that war is going to look. You go and you jump on AI and you jump on the news media and you grab a YouTube transcript and throw it all in it and go, right, what's the actual real outcome, which I did do. And it's like pretty much going to be business as usual for Aussies, unless you're heavily invested in the stock market or the Bitcoin, and it takes, as Mark said, and it takes a plunge, and then load up. So
Mm,
that's, and again, being fairly flippant because we are so far away from it. But that
yeah.
was the mindset.
And how about you, Mark? Like when the news, I mean, crazy. I was in Sydney at a Bad Bunny concert, for anyone that knows who that is. Having a great time. I'm there with Jen, some friends. Went for the weekend, and literally, I'm starting getting messages from Mark and a couple other mates of what's going on. And I'm in the concert. I'm dancing. Next thing you know, I'm looking at X. Next thing you know, I'm dancing, looking at a message. And I'm just like, oh my god, is this actually happening right now? And then I started thinking about the Dubai stuff. Started thinking about my mates in Dubai, and all these things happen. But like for me, I there was fear set in for me, right? Like I'll be honest, it wasn't just it is what it is. Like I looked at that and I'm just thinking, okay, what are the consequences of this? Right? What does this mean to inflation in Australia that's not under control, right? Hasn't come back as much as what they thought, even with this increased interest rate rise recently. If fuel goes through the roof and they do cut off the strait, and what does that mean to production? What does that mean to everyday goods, transport? All these types of things that are going through my head. Less disposable income in people's pockets. Shit, what's gonna and then I'm in the same headspace. Then I start thinking. That's emotional thinking, right? The next day, I start relaxing, start doing a bit more research, and start being a little bit more logical and going, okay, well, if they really wanted to do this, they would have already done it, right? Like you just said about the strait, right? That's their number one control right now. The number one control is not winning a war. Like, in my opinion, Iran can't win. How they can win is through economic destruction and market volatility based on, what missiles that they're sending and where they're hitting, and the control over the oil, and time. If they just want to drip feed this thing out, not 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and this goes on for months, and then all of a sudden years, that's where the impact starts to create more and more havoc, and people sit on their hands, and then inflation goes up, and all these things happen. So that's how my mind was going. And then I started thinking a little bit logically, and then I started thinking, well, we're in Australia, we're that far away. We don't usually absorb a lot of the big impact, like when you look at the war between Ukraine and Russia as an example, right? Property prices kept going, businesses kept going, things just kept humming along. And what we have to remember is people forget very, very easily, right? Like information is coming at us so, so fast now that you absorb it today, you think about it, and then there's 10 new pieces coming at you tomorrow. Like you open news.com right now, there'll be the top article, maybe the next one, and then it's just regular news that talks nothing about the war, as an example, right? You go to CNN, it's all the war. That's all they're talking about, right? Is all the bombings that are happening and how many countries are being affected and how many countries Iran has sent missiles to, and you know, which U.S. Army bases are being hit, which oil tankers are being hit, all these things, you know? So for me, I think what people need to do is just, like Mark said, don't panic, but at the same time, just take your time, take it all in, and let's see what happens. But don't just sit on your hands and do nothing either, right? The world continues. The event goes on the weekend. You know, the property development keeps pushing through. The renders come, the DAs still come. You still got to be active. In my opinion, you just have to be a little bit more strategic on where you're actually placing the money and not panic. But like Raf, when from a from a person that, you know, is from Australia, you know, living in Australia for so many years, and you've just moved to Dubai in the last year or so, you know, I don't know the last time Dubai got any missiles sent
Ever.
in a country. And then you're going, here we go, man. This place has been here for how many years? I'm here for the 12 months, and here I am stuck, and I can't leave. And like, how did it make you feel when you started really hearing these? Like, was it panic mode? Was it holy shit? This is a sign. I need to move back to safety. I need to move back to Australia, or I need to go to the, you know, a southern Asian country as an example for safety. What ran through your head? Because this is very important. Because this relates to everyday business. This relates to
Mm,
everyday property investing. This relates to, holy shit, I just bought Bitcoin at 100 grand. It's now 60. I'm selling because I think it's going to go down to 20. And, you know, my uncle Bob at the barbecue is telling me this. And so many people lose so much money making these crazy decisions. Where are you at
mm.
when that happens?
It takes a lot for me to get panicked. I don't usually stress. I don't just not that kind of guy. I don't really panic. I'm not special. It's just how my brain works. I'm just like, okay, let's see.
Mm,
The only reason I even considered leaving Dubai, because generally on the street it feels very safe, and leaving for the short term, by the way, like this is home base for the next 4 to 5 years, doesn't change my long term plan at all. It's just so that I can go to the events that I've been invited to speak at. It sounds silly, but it's just like I'm literally just thinking about that. I'm like, this is a great opportunity. This is going to be like, it's something I'm very excited to speak on. I had a lot of meetings lined up. So I'm just like, okay, I plan on business and life continuing as usual, but I need to be in a place where I'm able to get flights out to go do that. And so honestly, that's all I was thinking. And obviously, I just want to make sure that my wife feels calm and chill about the whole thing. And it honestly doesn't change anything long term because like this is the thing is, I've often seen when everyone is zigging, zagging is the opportunity. And I felt when I moved to Dubai, I was on the tail end of a zig because everyone had known about Dubai beforehand. I didn't get a chance to move earlier on. So I was like, okay, well, this very few times in my life that I've caught the tail end of a zig rather than doing a zag. And so I've kind of, because what's happening now, I end up being smack bang in the middle of a zag, which is going to be staying here. This is home base, you know, provided things kind of chill out for a bit. Um, yeah, that doesn't change anything for me, mate. I think, you know, it sounds silly. Like, um, everyone's so relaxed that we had like somebody who comes in to help cook with us like once a week. She ended up coming and she was like, "Oh yeah, some of the debris fell across the hotel, literally across the where I live." And she was so chill and relaxed about it. She even showed us like videos on her phone. I was like, "What the hell?" But she was so relaxed about it. So everyone here is super relaxed and chill. That doesn't mean to lull yourself into like a sense of false security, but at the same time, man, life goes on. And so the first thing I thought about, you know, after making sure everyone's safe is like, the property market is going to dip a little bit, which is great for me because, like I said on my last call, it's like that's going to be my first bite in the apple. So I'm like, it hasn't changed my plans at all. If anything, I'm personally seeing it as an opportunity because of my age, where I'm in my business. I'm like, it is what it is. Provide everyone's safe. Like, I think it's a great opportunity for me personally from a financial perspective. That's honestly how I'm looking at it, mate. You know?
and how about you, Mark? From a what Raf just said in regards to like he feels there'll be a dip in the property market. What are your thoughts? Do you think that'll be a short-term thing? Do you think it's actually gonna happen? Will it be more of a long-term thing? Will people
Well,
go, "You know what? Dubai is that safe that no one can get a missile in it." So maybe property prices go up and people go there because they feel like it's safer than other countries maybe. I don't know.
well, look, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not gonna make a prediction or
Yeah.
confess to make everyone believe that I know the answers. But what I'll point the thing that I'll point you to, the analogy that I'll point you to is the one that you brought up around COVID. When COVID hit, you, I dare say, panic sold a couple of properties, right, in around March 2020 on the Gold Coast, and the 3 years following that was the biggest property boom that the Gold Coast has ever seen in such a short period of time,
Mhm.
right? So the answer is you have to give it a couple of months, and if you had just given it a couple of months during COVID, you would have experienced the biggest property boom that the Gold Coast has ever seen. So I don't know the answer. You know, if all of a sudden buildings start getting knocked over by missiles, that changes the calculus of everything that we're talking about. But what we need to understand, we need to watch and see this game of chess unfold, and we need to see what's happening. It's funny, you know, I'm still getting leads to the Black Book website. Like there's still leads coming through, and there's pictures of Dubai all over the landing page, right? So, you know, we just have to see we just have to see how it unfolds, and we won't make any rash decisions in either direction for the positive or for the negative. You know, because that's just the way, and we're all susceptible to it, right? We all do make panic decisions, as you've heard us tell stories. You know, I'm the same with markets and things like that. So we have to kind of wait and see. You know, I was messaging you the day before, or you messaged me the day before, and you're like, "Man, this business is going to blow up quick." And, and then later, we're like,
Literally.
"What the fuck? What'd you say that for?" But my first thing was to message Raf, to message my podcast video editor, Marco, Sam, who we just interviewed, and just to see how they were doing. You know,
Mm.
you saw the on Daily Mail, Rob Portelli, the billionaire from Melbourne, is basically
Adrian Portelli,
you know,
it's Adrian Portelli.
he still thinks it's safer here in Dubai than in Melbourne because he could get attacked by a machete. A little bit tongue in cheek, but I've been talking about commodities. I've been talking about energy. I've been talking about the rotation out of software and tech into commodities and energy. And honestly, I think it speeds this rotation up, right? It speeds up this these capital flows. It's just an escalation of this story, which I think is a 10-year story that we're in the early innings of, first innings. I'm more concerned that AI and the speed of which AI is being rolled out, that
Mm.
if it knocks out too many white collar workers too fast, people without a job can't pay mortgages, right? Like I would think to the economy and markets, a bigger risk, because I think wars are net positives for markets and economies. I think a bigger risk is that AI comes on too fast, too many people too quick, and you have a repeat of 2008, right? Like that, I think is a bigger risk to the economy and to debt markets and things like that. And then the last point I would say is it just reinforces the thing that we've been talking about on this show and on my podcast, Money Markets and Mayhem, about becoming a sovereign operator and having multiple streams of income and, you know, not not having one not having one single point of failure that can kind of ruin your mobility and your family's freedom
Yeah.
and life.
I think the diversification is very, very important. And I've been
This
diversified.
is not the time to go all in on anything. This is the least that it's been that time since I've been alive. You know, to go all in on one thing,
I
except
agree.
maybe, yeah.
I've been diversified in business, excuse me, for a long, long time, right? I've had businesses in multiple domains, different categories for many years, and people always used to ask me. And when you read the books, like the one thing, right, it contradicts really what I've been doing. But I'm telling you, I've had experience where depending on what's happening in the economy, some businesses are doing better than others. Um, the property space, I haven't been as diversified. I've been basically mainly doing residential real estate, obviously in Canada for a little bit, but majority of it in Australia, but a specific area like the Gold Coast where I feel there's still more growth to be had. And now I'm going into commercial property as well. But yeah, I agree. Like the people that go all in on one thing, it's things like this that impact them so heavily, and some of them never come back. You know, so like I was had a friend over not long ago, and they were telling me about how her dad went all in on this one investment and they were absolutely killing it for years upon years and living this high life. And then all of a sudden, something happened to that business, that one business, and it basically sunk them and they've never been the same. Like that's the position that you actually don't want to be in, right? It's like an insurance policy. And that's why, like, even with unemployable, right? We got the unemployable business side, we got the unemployable property side, still doing things with Mark in Dubai, just diversifying things, right? And this is why we're teaching this stuff at unemployable, and we're looking at different areas. We're looking at different countries to invest in around the world and non-traditional assets. We're working with, you know, groups that are building, luxury hotels around the world, that specifically were just in Bali, but now they're diversifying and they're going to South Africa and they're going to Europe. They're going to different places because
Mm.
number one thing, it's de-risking what they're actually doing, right? Like you look at Raf as an example, he's diversifying himself, right? Coming out of Australia, going to Dubai, right? Now he's doing obviously his TikTok stuff, but he's not just doing TikTok stuff. He's got books coming out, education programs. He's got a diverse range of different businesses
Yeah,
um,
and I think
in
the
his
point
umbrella.
there, Eric, that you're making is like, what is being unemployable? It's having optionality. And I think that's the thing that Mark was talking about, and Eric, and I know James, you agree with that all the things you're doing in property. It's like, I think if you're only going to invest in one thing or go all in on one thing, it sounds kind of like pithy, but it's like, it's really just your surface area of luck. That means go into applying AI in your business, go into actually learning those skill sets. What is a skill set that you can use in the up times and the down times? Because the skill cannot be taken away from you. Your ability to apply these, like it is still genuinely the best time to be alive because you have never, the bar for excellence has never been lower because most people aren't doing anything, you know? And it is so much easier to get optionality because the world is connected and access to world changing technology is literally in the palm of your hand or
Mhm.
on a laptop. And so to be unemployable is to have optionality. And that might maybe through property, might be through moving somewhere like Dubai, or maybe through getting a particular skill set and applying that. Might be even just like doing property within Australia itself, or getting into the macro market. It's just being in the room, number one, and two, taking action on the options that are available to you in a way that this great author Nassim Taleb talks about, like not blowing up, right? So it's like, as long as I can be in the game and stay in the game and get a return from the game, I'm winning. And that's really the guardrails you put in, and everything else you go all in for. That's kind of my mentality. And I feel like that's what it means to be unavoidable.
I agree. I was going to say at the end of my rant before, perhaps the only thing still worth going all in on is your personal brand, right? Like, I think one of the things that's held me back from one of the things that's I just not sure if you guys cut out there or come back in. But one of the things that's held me back from going all in on personal brand is like, oh, but I don't know how I'm going to make money from this, and it's like my focus has been on creating wealth, or sorry, making enough money to have freedom. Whereas this year, I think the thing that's changed with me is I'm not as concerned about how I'm going to make money from it. I just want to play the long game with it, and seeing the things that are happening at the moment makes me want to double down on content even more, because we're moving into a world where there's going to be so much uncertainty and trust is going to break down, right? Wars, AI, robots, these are things that cause trust to break down. And so the thing that I feel like I'm building with an audience, and I'm sure you guys feel the same, or you wouldn't show up and do this for nothing, is that if you can build that trust in a trustless world, that is going to be one of the most valuable assets you can have. And eventually, when the opportunity's right, whether it's Dubai, Brazil, or something completely different, doesn't matter what it is, eventually you're going to be able to leverage that opportunity because you've built trust in a world where trust is breaking down. So, yeah, to your point, I think the one thing, if you're uncertain right now and you want to focus on one thing, it could be personal brand. Like I had a guy email me on Instagram the other day, and he's like, I work on the mines, on the coal mines, in and out, weeks at a time. I just don't know what to do. And I'm like, look, personal brand. He's like, yeah, but what am I going to do? Who wants to hear from me? And I'm like, well, I said,
Dang it, I do. That's interesting.
dude, I said, if you could give me information that'd allow me to trade the two biggest coal stocks in Australia, New Hope Coal and Whitehaven Coal, like I'd watch you. He's like, but I go, you could create a channel about the ins and outs and the intricacies and things that I need to know to trade those two stocks. And how about how you love fishing in your downtime, right? And and he's like, oh yeah, but would enough people watch it? And I said, doesn't matter. Don't worry about how many people watch it. You only need 1,000 people to pay you $2,000 a year, and that's sorry, 100 people, 100 people to pay you $2,000 a year, and you've replaced your income. Like you don't worry about how many people watching. Can you get 100 ride or dies to find enough value in your content that they can go and make that back in a month trading those stocks that you know about because you work for those companies, you know everything about coal. And that's the way I think people need to be thinking about this kind of thing, right? Forget about the views and the vanity metrics. This is one thing that Sam, the podcast that we dropped today on Unemployable, really hammered home for me. And I think everyone needs to go out there and watch that podcast, whether you're into personal brand and content or not, you have to watch it. But this guy's got 1 million followers and he's still doing live streams to 50 to 100 people because they're his ride or dies that he knows will follow him to the end or be his lifeline if he needs it. It's a lesson for everyone. And I've taken that to heart. And that's so I'm
And
focused on this.
then you've got like Chamath Palihapitiya from the All In Pod. He's actually spun off his own YouTube channel now, his own Substack. I mean, the guy's worth 10 or 11 billion, and he's now cutting onto personal brand or doubling down on it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I look at things like these events, right? And what's happening overseas are wake up calls, right? They're almost like pulse checks. All right, shit, what am I doing? Right? It's a reminder to kind of, all right, let's recalibrate. What am I doing? What decisions am I making? And how is this going to affect what I'm going to be doing and moving forward in the future, right? Like I'm sure you're thinking about that now, Raf, going, holy, do I actually go and travel 4 hours and cross the border? What's the risk to that? And then hop on a plane and get to the US within 36 hours so I can still speak on stage and go to my meetings and do this. Like you're contemplating, right? What is the cost of doing that? But what is the opportunity cost of not doing that, right? These are the decisions that we need to make. With Unemployable, I'll give you guys an example about branding and one of the things that you should be doing is investing in yourself. We have over 320 people coming to the event. We've sold out this weekend. Now we could have had 1,000 people come to the event and run paid ads to cold traffic to people that don't know who we are, but we decided not to do that. We decided to go, you know what, we've been building something pretty cool for the last 12 months, specifically around property, right? Unemployable property, because this is a property event. We've got a database. They've been listening. Let's sell to them, right? Let's go to our database, warm people that know us. And we've generated close to $200,000 in revenue, right, from ticket sales. Now, we didn't make this event to be a highly profitable event. If we wanted to, the ticket sales would be double the price. But we wanted to try and get as many bums on seats as possible to add as much value. Now, for anyone that understands CPA costs and ads costs, if you're going to a warm audience, right, a warm audience, and you run paid ads to sell that, you're going to be spending between $40,000 and $45,000 on ads costs, right, to sell that amount of tickets to a warm audience that doesn't know who you are through ads, right? If it's a real warm audience, it's going to be better. If it's cold as, it's going to be even more. And this is what we've done, right? We've put in a lot of time and a lot of effort over the last 2.5 years, and specifically 12 months around property. And now we're filling a room up. And that all comes with time and effort and cost, because none of that comes free. But the trust and the credibility and the relevance that builds, right? Like Mark is an example. If he didn't come on the podcast 2.5 years ago and said, "All right, guys, I trust what you guys are doing. Let's give this a crack. Let's have some fun. We're good mates." Does that mean that he'd be getting hundreds of leads today on the new Dubai business? Does that mean he would have followers listening to him on his other podcast? Has that helped? Of course it has helped. But you know what? It's taken 2.5 years of work that people don't see, right? Because people want instant gratification. They rather just go and run the ads and fill up the room and try and sell something to them that, you know, they don't even know you. And this is what we've created time after time after time after time. And it's the same thing, right? MX Store, it's a 15-year-old business of doing the same thing over and over and over and over. No wonder it's a success. No wonder Unemployable is a success, because you got to put in the hours, you got to put in the work. You look at Mark, perfect example. Gets excited, starts his podcast, right? Then stop the podcast for whatever reason, right? And now he's back at it again because he understands the value. He understands that people want to listen to him. People want to tune in, right? And listen to Macro Mark talking about the stuff that he's that passionate about, because you know what? He's doing the research. He's putting the time. He's putting in the effort. So when he decides to go, you know what, guys, I'm now going to charge you $100 a month for this kind of content. Guess what? There's going to be a lot of people that will pay it. But why? Because he's put in the hard yards, time after time after time after time, right? And it's the same thing with you, Raf. You could be doing the same thing in the TikTok space, right? I just had some of my first Minects, and people were
Mm.
paying me a lot of money for these Minects, right? And I'm talking to these people, and some of them are more successful than me. But what do they really want? They want connection. Where did they find out about me? Through the podcast, through my journey. And that's what builds out. So now I'm thinking, holy shit. So if I actually set up my Connect account properly, and I actually go out there and talk about it and go, hey guys, if you want to learn more about this, this, and this, go and book my Connect. Here's the link, right? I don't even know how to download my link for Connect yet. I haven't even went into that space, right? I just mentioned it on the pod once and people went to it. But like there's a business within a business just there. And this is how people need to start thinking, right? How can you extract more from what you're actually doing? And events like this should be a wake-up call for people to say, holy shit, right? My business might be wiped out by this. What am I going to do? Right? Like imagine if you right now are your sole business is helping people not invest in Dubai as an example, but just visas. Like that's going to be a bit of a pause right now for the next month or so. I don't think people are
Please.
jumping planes, right, and want to pay 10 grand just to get there. And these are the things that you have to think about. Sorry, Mark, were you going to say something?
No, no, yeah, exactly. Uh, like I know people have cleaning businesses and now no one's renting office space, right? Like you really, everybody really, and it's not just war, like it's second and third order effects of AI and different things. You have to be kind of thinking two, three, four steps ahead. You know, like I mentioned the other day that I'm more concerned about AI creating problems in US and the rest of the world, then you know I have an e-commerce business in the US that people buy products from online, and the thought crossed my mind, what if the sales of that business slow down, right? Like I'm already thinking about possibly maybes. Now I'm not panicking, but I'm thinking about those now because you kind of have to plan for those scenarios, right? So that you know, and it's the same old, the age old things, you know, uh, earn more than you spend, don't live beyond your needs, uh, don't take on excessive debt, you know, don't go out and leverage Bitcoin and things like that, right? Like it's money wealth principles 101, right? But you have to have you have to think about these things, Eric. And like you said, these kind of events are really great at shaking things up and getting you to think about them. But what we advocate on this channel is don't wait for these events. Think about them now. Like every week we're coming on trying to inspire people to think about things a little bit different because of this macro view. Like, to be honest, none of these events that have happened in the last week or last couple of months or even in 2026 are a surprise to me. Yeah, it's kind of incredible to see that it's all happening in the first 2 months of the year, but it's not a surprise. It's par for the course for the time that we're in. And so we're all about making sure that people are not surprised by this shit. And that is just, I don't even think that I'm there yet at that like sovereign fuck off level or whatever. But I'm going on the journey with you and I'm trying to document the journey. And I feel like you boys kind of, Eric, you probably, have much more I know you still think and panic about it, and even though you've probably built so much bigger of an asset base, but you still think about it. But the thing is, it's like just have that thought. Just consider
And
those things, right? That's the most
And
important thing.
not only that, but a couple of our chats in the post, especially if you're white collar or a knowledge worker. I mean, it's not 12 months away or 18 months away. It's happening today. Like Jack Dorsey
Well,
took all the afterpay gang over to from Australia to the States for a retreat, cost about 68 million or something ridiculous like that. And then this month, he just in all lowercase form out 620 characters, fires 40% of his whole entire global workforce.
oh,
Like they just got their feet rubbed in a massage last month, and now they're probably gonna have no shoes next month. So, I mean, it's a pretty dramatic shift.
that's exactly right. Sorry, that was the thing that I was going to say. One of the reasons, Eric, why I think people that are much more successful than the four of us want to talk to us is because we are thinking about things that had never crossed their mind.
Mhm.
We are
Yeah,
thinking about things and touching on cutting edge stuff that
yeah,
even though they've been so successful doing the one thing, these
yeah.
thoughts have never crossed their mind, and they realize that the time is ripe for them to start thinking about those things. And that's why I think so many people that are more successful than us want to speak to us.
And it's not all and sorry, it's not all about AI, and you've got to become the latest AI operator, etcetera. I mean, I'm have been an advocate, and there's a lady you're probably familiar to most people, is post Cody, Sanchez. She's, petitioning a business one way is still buying boring old businesses. Things are gonna weather the AI storm. They'll still be relevant after AI. So, I mean, well, whoever's listening out there, it's not you have to become the latest RAF and be AI forward on everything. It's you can also go right. Well, what is AI resistant? Used to be what they call in the game of acquisitions a recession resistant business, and that's what I was looking for when I went down the healthcare route. But now it's like, what's an AI resistant business? So it's not all just one dimensional down the AI rabbit hole either. So there's plenty of other opportunity out there for people who want to operate in a space that is in that a needs based economy.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is, like these Friday podcasts are some of my favorites that we do because we talk about real things, what we're dealing with, mindset, right? Like I'm sitting here going, yeah, I panicked on Saturday night, right? Not to the point where I made irate, crazy decisions, but like being vulnerable and talking about these things and how you're reacting. And, we got lots of things happening. I've got a lot of stuff. I'm probably the busiest I've ever been with business and properties right now as we speak, right? It is right now, I am literally in the trenches of multiple things and I'm really, really enjoying it. But there's times like Saturday night when I get this information and it's like, holy shit, what do I do? Right? Which pivots do we need to make? What does this mean for Dubai? What does this mean for, the property space? All these things make you think. We're real. We're humans. The key to these Friday pods is we're using our real life experiences in business. Doesn't matter how wealthy someone is. Doesn't matter how successful they are. Right? Numbers are just numbers. Innings are just innings. But we're all dealing with the exact same thing just on different levels. Like I look at Raf and I go, he's starting his wealth creation career. I want to help him as much as I can, right? So that way it doesn't take him 20 years, it takes him 10, right? And I want, I'm sure Raf is looking at me going, mate, you're a bit of a dinosaur. I'm using OpenClaw. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Man, I can rock your world in 2 days showing what AI can do. Right. And this is what it's about. And taking our real life experiences, right? Our mistakes, our wins, our successes, and letting you guys know what we're actually doing. And this is why the Friday pods to me are the best. Now, we can bring on the political pods and we'll keep doing them once in a while and we get pumped with views and we get all the rage bait and we get the comments and people arguing about this and that and the rest of it. But that's not life-changing stuff. Right? Life-changing stuff is when we get the DMs, is when we get people booking and going, "Man, like, I just want connection. I wanna know I can't talk about this topic with my uncles and my aunts and my brother and sometimes even my wife or my husband. I can't talk about this stuff with them. They don't understand." Right? Like, us as entrepreneurs, us as unemployables, when our head hits the pillow, we're still thinking. Like, when you wake up, you're still thinking, right? There isn't a I've never once had a had a, I don't even know what it's called now, fuck, the,
A
out of
moment of
o
clarity where your brain
no,
just
no,
got.
no, out of office email. I never had that before. You know? Yeah, I'm going away for 4 weeks. See you later. My phone is off. That's not how it works, and I think this is why people relate to what we're doing. And if you guys enjoy these topics, guys, and what we're talking about, let us know in the comments. We read all the comments. We might not reply to every single one of them. I don't reply to a lot of them, but I read a lot of them just because the amount of time that it actually takes to actually reply to them is crazy, right? Especially now with Instagram and our following and stuff growing. But believe me, we read them and let us know if you like these angles. Like today was a very unique episode because it's like, what else do you talk about? Right? We have to talk about what's happening right now. This is the number one thing in the world that's happening. But rather than just sitting here and talking about it the whole time and going, oh, who's going to win and why are they doing it? And it's no, it's how is it going to affect your everyday life? How is it going to affect your thinking? How is it going to affect your business? How is it going to affect your family and the decisions that you need to make moving forward to better your life and not making any knee jerk decisions, right? I still think about the knee jerk decision. I didn't sell all my properties, just a couple properties, but just those couple properties that I sold, what they've went up by over the last 6 years, right, would retire people today.
Mm.
Like that's it's not small amounts. We're talking big amounts. One decision, right? If there was an unemployable podcast that I was listening to at the time that said, you know what? Don't make any knee jerk reactions. Wait a couple months to see how things pan out, like Mark just said earlier. Maybe I could have been a
Take
little
the
bit.
hands off
Well,
the
mate,
dial.
if you want to retire, just go and check your ashtray in your car, mate. I think you'll
Yeah,
recover it.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're good.
No,
It's an in-house joke we've got going on.
yeah, it is an in-house joke. But guys, um, Ref, for you, you know the decision you need to make.
Mm.
You know the decision you need to make, right? You just need to make it.
Yeah,
You know it deep
sure.
down on the decision you need to make, right?
Yeah,
So don't go out of fear, right? Just do what
mm,
you need to do.
I'm
sure.
looking. You're talking about the road trip.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the decision that he needs to make. Whether like I've got a friend right now in Greece, right? He's stuck there, but he's not. He's now going to be flying through South Africa. He's flying around the world to get back, as an example. Like you got to do what you got to do, right?
Speaking of personal brand, then I think it'd be only be pertinent if you'd like a Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, but across Oman and film it for us. And
Animate. I mean, look, listen, that's the whole personal brand thing is on my list. I, if we've got time for this towards the end, I was like, we always talk about like what we're doing in our day-to-day life and our like practical, like what we're thinking. I think it would be interesting just as the last like 30 seconds each. James, you said like what are AI um, resistant businesses. And our quality of thinking impacts what we do on a day to day. Is one decision that Eric made for only two properties that would have retired someone at this point. So if we could go around the horn really quickly as a practical end step for anyone who's watching, who stayed with us towards the end of this pod, is like, what's one AI resistant business that comes to mind from your seat, what you're thinking? from what you're thinking right now, and then one book that you think people would help them with the quality of thinking, or that's significantly impacted you. Because these practical elements are the foundation or the bedrock that's helped us make decisions within our business. I'm sure it's done the same for you guys. So I'd love to go around the horn if we've got the time, but you can cut this part out if we don't.
No, you
Yes.
you go ahead, James.
Yeah, sure. Not from an actual business perspective. I haven't really scratched that surface for quite some time. But look, housing. There is a shortage, there is a demand, and instead of being on the receiving end of it, is go and do something about it. To go and I was fairly biased because we've got a property company, but and development. But how do you profit from something that I don't see AI disrupting the housing industry just yet. It's going to be a minute. Construction, construction companies, what's adjacent to them as well. This, we talked about it 2 weeks ago about the massive build out with AI data centers. I mean, and as a guy in the States that I follow quite rapidly, and he's just acquiring construction companies like as fast as he can because he knows his build out is not going to be disrupted by AI just yet.
Mm. I was on the call. I was on a 2-hour phone call last week with PricewaterhouseCoopers. We catch up with them regularly throughout the year, and they just kind of chime in on their acquisitions people, and we just chime in and talk about different things around business. And I asked them that question. I said, "So right now, right, what's the one business that people are looking at heavily in regards to equity and whatnot?" And he said the same thing: data centers. But not only that is all like you can't just sit there and go, okay, I'm going to build a data center because data centers are a need. Like you're talking multi millions of dollars. But what you got to look at is what are all the sub companies that are needed to build data centers, right? The concrete that's needed, the steel that's needed, the electrical that's needed, all these different types of things. So, in my opinion, like James said, is I've said it multiple times on the podcast. I got smashed last year for saying it. You know, trades are the new doctors and lawyers of today. In my belief, that will continue moving forward. I don't think we're going to see a robot anytime soon coming in and doing your plumbing maintenance in your house and bits and pieces like that. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be sitting here in 10 years, 5 years time listening to this, but that's what I would be looking at. Like I'm here today with Perry and we're working on the slides and I'm sending him all these photos and some of them are old photos. Like I'm talking like 2007. It's like these are blurry. I'm like, "What do you expect, man?" They were taken probably on, like a Nokia, uh, you know? And, he goes, "Ah, don't worry." And he just pulls up his ChatGPT, "Make this look better, do this, do that." And then he sends it and shows it to me and he's like, "How good's this?" I'm like, "It looks like it just got taken on an iPhone 17." He goes, "Yeah, just ChatGPT, $20 a month. This is perfect." He goes, "Editors are screwed."
You
Photo
don't
ed
even need real photos. Just get Gemini to
Yeah, yeah,
pass.
that's right, photo editors are screwed, like, and then he goes, "Oh, check out what I made of you," and then there's me holding a bat, like a spike bat that he's put in the newsletter, and then he's got me talking about, me wording something else. I don't even know this stuff's being done, like, I look at these things and going, like, just being ahead of the curve on that side. Yeah, so interesting. So, in my opinion, trades, I'll keep saying it over and over and over, and not when I say trades, not go be a plumber, not go be an electrician. Own a plumbing business, own the electrical business, own the importing business that are bringing in the raw materials for the electrical materials or the plumbing supplies or the pipes or these types of things.
Mark, what about you?
Um, yeah. So I'll give a couple of different ones. So the first thing is I still think I still this is you don't necessarily need to start a business. You can invest in companies, right? Like I think precious metals mining companies, based on their return on equity, are still some of the most underpriced equities in the world. And so if you can find mining companies that are giving a good return on equity, I still think there's some catch up still, even with gold going up so much. I still think there's plenty more to run if you can find the ones that give good return on equity, so you can invest in those. One thing that I've done a complete 180 on, going back a year or 2 years ago, even when we started this podcast, I thought that education was saturated. I'm like, education saturated. If I'm going to do a podcast, I ain't selling anything. I've completely done a 180 on that view. Call it bias or call it the fact that I'm realizing now by engaging and interacting with people each and every day that watch my stuff, how confused people are and how important special, not courses, not run of the mill courses that are just generic, but how important specialized information, whether it be naturopathy or health or like I think personal trainers aren't going anywhere. If you use AI to get the most out of AI to help people on their personal training journey, oh my God, the things that I'm doing with my naturopath, where I'm putting together like things that she's saying versus things that my blood tests say, and then we're coming up with a plan together. I think this education is going to be AI proof if you do it properly and really give people value and direction in a world of confusion and where trust breaks down. So I've done a 180 on that, and I think that two books that everyone should read that might help with this current environment are Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership, and Howard Marks, old time bond trader, uh, wrote a book called Mastering the Market Cycles. And it basically talks about being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful, and how to really, really identify market cycles and make the contrary decision to what the crowd is doing. And so they're two books that I think everyone should go out there
I
and listen to.
I
See if
yeah.
you get it. They're timeless.
I forgot about the books. I haven't been reading a lot lately. That's one reminder is that I need to be reading more, but again, the best old school book ma will make you realize what side of the quadrant you wanna be on, and it's all about, we're moving forward in a way of it's not about income, it's about ownership, right?
Not Rich
Good
Dad
old
Poor Dad.
right, yeah, yeah, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, man, that's the book that changed the way I thought about everything. So,
It's funny. A mate of mine messaged me the other day. And he's like, "What stock should I be?" Like, so many people messaged me and said, "What stock should I be buying post this war?" And I'm like, "Dude, the same shit I've been saying. You should be positioned for already." But anyway, but he said, I've been listening to Robert Kiyosaki stuff in the last couple of days or weeks." So he's making
yeah,
a comeback.
just the best thing that
Timeless.
Robert Kiyosaki's done is wrote the book, everything else, you gotta realize, these guys are talking about certain things for other reasons too, like, there's always underlying reasons why someone's saying, "Go do
We
this," or
all,
"Go buy that," right?
we're,
So,
we're all looking out for our own self interest for sure.
yeah, but good questions, good questions,
Yeah,
Raf.
great question. Yeah, for the audience
Um,
will dig that.
yeah, how about you? Any books? Well, just to wrap it off. All right, I
Yeah,
think
I mean, I think one thing
anything.
that I want to highlight here is that Mark was willing to change his mind based on what he saw on the ground by being in the arena. And I think a lot of people, especially because you guys have been in the pod for the last 2.5 years or so, and you say a thing, and then when you change your mind, you get kind of grilled on it in the chats, like, "Oh, 2 years ago you said this thing, and now you're changing your mind." It's like that's the
I
point.
changed
If
mine
you
in two
stick to the
days.
thing, without actually taking feedback from being in the arena, I think that's the mistake. The point of somebody who can move forward is to be nimble in the way they're thinking, what they're applying. You know, have firm belief, but hold them loosely based on the data you're actually getting. So I just want to give you props. I know everyone on this call has done that in some area of their business. They would not have gotten to this point if they hadn't
Yeah,
done that. But I'd say like two things from a AI resistant business, the more things that go digital, there's going to be a greater need for physical because everyone's brain power is going towards the digital world. So I think like the infrastructure, like we talked about trades, we talked about property, even like physical products, because there's less and less competition going there, and there's even less competition that's applying the growth you can get from AI and the thought process to then go into the physical product businesses. I only see that growing because there's less competition and more people are going elsewhere. So that's number one. Number two is also the education piece, specifically around how do I collapse the time between someone being interested in something and getting them a result. And if you can do that consistently over and over again and deliver results as
Well,
opposed to general information, that is, I think for years to come, is going to be AI
that's
resistant. So
I'm
that's
gonna
going to
write
be
that
huge.
down. That's big.
Yeah.
Hey, Rafi, on the thing you said prior to that as well, there's a quote by Silicon Valley futurist Paul Sappho: "Strong opinions, loosely held."
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you repeat that quote that you said about the education business? Because I think that was profound.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who understand, like with we've gone through phases through education, right? And I think just getting access to information, having a paywall for the information, that age is dead. But if you're able to provide people results, you either have time or capital, right? And people are willing to pay capital to collapse time. So if with the education that you're actually doing, you're able to get people result over and over and over again, people are going to pay with their wallets because time is finite and capital isn't. And if you can do that, I think not only will you survive during this AI, resistant business, I think you're going to thrive because we're drowning in noise. And the difference now is the signal through the results you provide to the people you want to help.
So I had that as collapse the time between idea and result.
There you go. See, I should just get you to just say my things way better than I do, bro.
We we gotta. I want to finish it with something I said. I think it was last week or the week before. Going, oh, what are the? I think it was the question around what not to invest in, or what are the dying businesses? And I said retail stores, physical stores, right? Big box specifically. I said, and then I'm sitting down with PwC and asking them questions, and I'm like, so what are these equity partners looking for, in businesses and stuff? And he's like, they like retail.
Right.
They like bricks and mortar.
Physical becoming a retail.
Yeah. They like it. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I
So
think
it goes to show you what you think. And
I think
and what,
it was it was on the biggest winners and losers episode we had.
big-
And
yeah,
mine was
that's
mine was SaaS about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and that one proved to be right. They
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
private
yeah,
equities are right in there asked
writing
and
on
back to the
that one. But it's interesting, it's not, but again, it's spending the 2 hours in the meeting, asking the questions. All right, we're all busy. Like we're literally organizing an event, and I'm sitting there for 2 hours with these guys, and all I'm thinking about is all the shit I have to do, and I could have got done within those 2 hours. But the value of that meeting and the information that I got back is just so valuable. And then here I am repeating it to everyone else. Mark, you
Eric,
say
yeah, I've got two special requests. The first one is I personally think this episode has been a cracker. And so if we could get Jerome to put together a trailer of this episode, I'd love to promote it on Instagram, because I think
Yeah.
the more people that watch this episode, especially in these times, the better for our society and our country. So I request is if we can get a trailer for this episode, which we don't usually do on a Friday pod. And the second request is if anyone who has made it to this point in the pod, please, if you don't already follow and subscribe to the podcast, please subscribe. Like, I'm surprised now running my own pod how little the number of people. I'm getting like 3,000 views and only 40 people subscribing, and 60% are brand new watchers. It's like, please subscribe and do one more. Send it to someone else who you think could get benefit from this. I'm just realizing how important that is. So they're my two requests.
I agree. Let's do that. I'll reach out to Jerome. All right, guys, that was a good one. Obviously, a lot of meat on that bone, man, that we talked about today. There's so much going on, obviously, in the world. Biggest thing is keep your head up. Be careful who you talk to. Surround yourselves with people that lift you up, not people that bring you down. Because, I could just imagine the chats that are happening around, Aunt Rhonda's barbecue over the weekend. People would be scared shitless right now. So stay unemployable. And like Mark said, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you dislike. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.